Buddy. I just want to give you a few notes today that you'll be writing down in your Meads, and then start you on the thinking work that you'll do to build your literary essay. So I'm just typing my notes today just so that you can see the text nice and clear, but I expect that you'll have this in your Mead and it will be part of your notebook check. So please title this section, Literary Devices that Authors Use to Highlight Themes. And while I'm doing this, since I'm typing, I might go a little bit faster than you. And if that's the case, then just push pause and push start again when you're ready to go. So one literary devices that authors use is they use comparisons, specifically metaphors and similes. A second thing that they'll use is alliteration. And alliteration is where you start words with all the same sound. Another is they might use repetition. And that might be of a word, an idea, a phrase, continued. It could be anything that they repeat. When you notice something is repeated, you have to assume that it's done on purpose. Another is a descriptive word or sentence. A lot of these canon writers, they spend a lot of time developing ideas and really being descriptive. So if they spend a lot of time describing something, pay attention to it because it probably matters. Next is personification. And personification is giving human-like qualities to non-human things. If they do that, chances are whatever they're using to personify is an important thing. And lastly, short and long sentences. Sentence variety. Writers have a certain style that they usually stick with and through a story, and if they're writing in a different way, it probably matters. When I think about The Ugly Duckling, I know that the writer uses different sentence lengths for some of the different characters to show if they're excited or not. That's something we'll make note of in just a little bit. So these are the notes that I expect that you'll have in your Mead, and I expect that you know what all of these things are. We'll move next into the handout that you guys are going to be completing today using the text of your short story or poem or play that you're working with. So again, I'm going to be typing just because it's easier for me to demonstrate for you in this way. So here's the sheet, and you'll notice the same 6 literary devices are listed at the top. And what I'm asking you to do is to find some of those literary devices in the text that you're reading, and then to do some thinking about why maybe the writer used that thing. So first of all, the thing that I want to use is the one that I just mentioned, which is the sentence types. So when the princess was talking in this story, she was always using phrases that were of like a kind of a flowy length and like a length that was kind of long. So she said on page 108, "You see, when you lifted me up before, you said, 'You're very lovely.'" Now, I'm not going to copy the whole phrase here, which is actually like a whole paragraph long. I'm just putting enough that I can remember that spot in the text and come back to it if I want to write longer about it or if I want to put it as a direct quote in my literary essay. Now I'm going to come to the middle column and say what literary device this seems to be and what might it show. And so I thought this was short and long sentences. And what might it show? It might show that Princess Camilla is a pretty calm and flowy, I don't know that that's a word, but it's close enough, speaker. She is not rattled or excited unnecessarily. Then I want to think, why might this be important to the theme? Well, my theme that I'm proving is that it's good to be mellow and trust that everything will work out. And so I want to say this might be important to that because Princess Camilla demonstrates her mellow attitude throughout the story. A second literary device that I can think of that highlights the theme is when the Chancellor speaks. The Chancellor is somebody who speaks with very descriptive words and sentences, and it's really interesting because the way he talks is very choppy as well. So, for example, in one spot, he says, "Let me put it to you this way. The Prince Simon will naturally assume that Her Royal Highness has the customary, so customary as to be, in my own poor opinion, slightly monotonous, has what one might call the inevitable, so inevitable as to be, in my opinion again, almost mechanical, blah, blah, blah," and then he continues from there. So I think that is definitely some descriptive words or sentences, so I'm going to add that in. So that was on page 99. And I'm just going to copy a piece of it just like before. I'm going to put Prince Simon will naturally assume that Her Royal Highness has the customary, so customary, blah, blah, blah. That's enough of it that I can find that spot again. What literary device does this seem to be? I'm going to say descriptive words. And then the second question, what might it show? It shows that the Chancellor was a character who was very excited and rattled. He was someone who really got bent out of shape. Sound like my mom talking, but it works. About talking to the king. Then over here I want to think, why might this be important to the theme? Why is it important that the Chancellor is kind of bent out of shape? Well, he is a non-example of the theme that I wanted to show, to be mellow and trust that things will work out. And so I'm going to put that. The Chancellor shows that the exact opposite of the theme. I think the author put him in here and speaking in such a way to show the opposite of what a person should be. Now, I want to just pause and think for just a minute about what we know about the structure of our eventual literary essay. We know that eventually we're going to have our claim at the top and then paragraphs of evidence. So in each paragraph of evidence, we're going to have mostly a direct quote, and then we're going to have some commentary that follows it. And if we're careful about the work that we're doing on this sheet, this isn't just a worksheet that you're completing on a Friday afternoon. Really, what you're completing is the body of your paragraphs. Because I have here my direct quote, at least a piece of what I want to use, and then this can end up turning into a paragraph, and this as well. So when you're doing this work today, please take your time and be very careful, because chances are you'll be able to use a lot of this going forward. Have fun looking for these things. Treat it like being a detective. Enjoy your work working on your literary essays, and I look forward to seeing you Monday.